Hello and good evening, feeders. Today is July 26, 2021, and my name is DJ. Joining me today for the weekly update will be Feeder Finance Patrick. You want to say hi, Pat?
Hi guys.
He borrowed a microphone from Jimmy, so hopefully it's a little better this week.
Let's see.
Alright, so first we're going to go over the TLDR real quick, and we'll jump into some other stuff. So, looks like this week we launched ETH Auto Diversify for a total of 5 Auto Diversify vaults, with 1 remaining, and that would be the BNB vault, correct?
Yep. We launched that yesterday, but had some trouble with the network, and we weren't sure whether the problem was the smart contract or the network itself, so we disabled it, and Jimmy signed off, and now we're sort of waiting for Jimmy to get back online to enable it once again.
So what was the issue there? It wasn't the smart contract, it was the network?
Yeah, the reason we can't tell for sure whether it was the smart contract or ours is because we did our usual tests, everything went well, then we launched it, and then the whole market sort of went crazy, and we had some congestion issues with the node. But BNB, when you vault BNB, it's different than when you're vaulting other tokens because it's the actual network token, or
Right.
not a token, it's a cryptocurrency. It's what's driving the network. So the coding is different from your other vaults.
Mm-hmm.
And so because we couldn't debug or we couldn't check what the problem was, because we can't check when we can't actually make transactions, right? We weren't 100% sure because we can't check. So what we decided was, let's just disable it. There weren't any funds in there because we just launched, a couple of minutes before that.
Right.
While it was disabled, so Jimmy, did his check while, at some point after we disabled it, the network was actually doing okay again for a brief period. And when it was, we did those tests and it went well. So we're pretty sure it's all good. It's just that we weren't sure how long the network was going to be in trouble. So, it's late where we are at the time. So we just signed off and we'll get it back online.
Awesome. And interestingly enough, BNB, so you guys are using a wrapped form of BNB, correct? Not exactly BNB itself?
That's a technical question I'm not sure about. I'll need to check with Jimmy, which I'm not sure, to be honest.
Where's? But yeah, so we've seen a lot of volatility the last couple of days. It's been a bit crazy there, all the network congestion and all that. So I'm glad we took the time to sit there, turn off our contract, and turn it on when it's a little more clear,
Yeah, I mean, it's better to be safe. We did all the checks, whole day of checking, everything went well. But obviously when there are any form of risk, right, we don't want to take that risk. Mm-hmm. So it's just prudent for us on our side to just disable it until we can double check just to make sure. And we did that, and it's fine.
Well, that's good. So that will be all of our Auto Diversify vaults launched. So that leads us to our next line here of the TLDR. The AutoFarm Compound to be the priority next week, including other plans highlighted in What's Next. So the AutoFarm Compound, will we see that finished up this week? I believe you said in the past the contract had been finished, but it was working with the DApp interface, getting that all snug and tight and ready to go for launch.
Yeah. So the way we develop these vaults is you typically develop these contracts for one token first, because ultimately you only have to change parts of the entire structure to accommodate other tokens. So what we have is we're ready to develop one. We tested that and everything went well. And so we're technically done with the compound for AutoFarm. The only issue, like I mentioned last time, was that if you combine the whole thing into one transaction, that includes belting, the token first, and then taking that belt token into AutoFarm to compound on their side, and then taking it back to our vault and compounding AutoFarm's token. If you do all of that, if you do the deposit transactions all at once, the gas fee would just be massive because the belting itself is already, I think $2 or $3. So we need to split that up into 2 transactions, but we didn't want, the issue with AutoFarm is, for me personally, when I was new to DeFi, I didn't know what Belt BNB was.
Right.
So I didn't know that I had to go to Belt first to, deposit there and then take that, receipt token or that Belt token back to AutoFarm. And we didn't want our users to experience the same, confusion.
Right.
So we want them to be able to take whatever token that, that you want to deposit. So in this case, maybe BNB, deposit BNB and go through the Belt intuitively. So if we were to split the transactions up, we want the UI to accommodate, first, let's say step 1, you convert your BNB to Belt BNB. And then step 2, you deposit your Belt BNB. Or if you have Belt BNB, you can deposit that as well. And to do that, we need to update the UI a bit to accommodate, those 2 or 3 step type deposit structures. And so even though the contract is done, we still need to, update the UI to accommodate that. So that's what we'll be working on in the next day or 2. Then we can, start launching all the compound vaults for AutoFarm over this week. So that's the plan.
Well, that's awesome. So adding on to our Auto Diversify and AutoFarm Compound, we have our community proposal platform that was just launched. It looks like we have a few suggestions that have been made so far. So I'm just going to go over them briefly, Pat, and just get your thoughts on them. The first one was actually posted by yourself, XVS Compound at Rabbit Finance. Tell me, Pat, does this sound like something the Feeder Finance team would implement?
I think we'll most likely do it because it's so we did check some data in terms of our users, and thanks to the Rabbit Twitter posts, we have a lot of users actually coming from Rabbit, and so what we're thinking is we'll probably in our upcoming additions to the deposit tokens that will be available on the platform. A lot of it will still be auto compounding Rabbit's lending pools. XVS would be one of them. We might add more. We may wait for some other suggestions, but if there aren't, we may announce or add to the UI the additional upcoming tokens next with XVS would be one of them.
Very nice. Our next suggestion here was actually added by our own Raphael, and he suggested a feed farm auto compound. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. This is sort of like this. I think ever since we launched the farm, there were ideas or thoughts behind, auto compounding the farm. And every time there's the same, two-sided arguments between, number one, on the pros, it's convenient, right, for farmers to just, so they don't have to, number one, incur the fees or the gas fees to compound. And number 2, it's just convenient because, you don't have to do it every day or every couple of days. It just does it itself.
Right.
But on the argument against it is that it creates this sell pressure on, our liquidity goal. And I'm sort of indifferent personally to it because I get the convenience, but I also get the sell pressure. And on the sell pressure side, I guess a lot of it is being done anyway. A lot of the bigger farmers are probably compounding anyway, because if you have 400 APRs, you compound that, you might be getting,
a lot more.
It's 700, maybe 1,000, I don't know, depending on how frequent you compound.
Right.
So it makes sense to manually compound anyway. I think we just let's see if the community supports that idea. There's enough support. We do it, but if there isn't, then we let it be, because it's sort of controversial, really, because it affects our native token, right?
Oh yeah.
it affects everyone. So in this case, I prefer we see some more support than usual, just because it's a controversial sort of vault to add.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for that. Our next one we have here is Mound Vault of Pancake Bunny. Are you familiar with that one? Because I'm not.
So William actually DM'd me about that. He sent me a link. I just hadn't had the time to review what the Mount Vault is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think based on what he was saying is that there could be time lock issues with regards to how this Mount Vault works, and we haven't done a vault that
implements. Yeah, we haven't done one of those yet. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm not sure how that would work, because when you think about a vault, right, you have a lot of people, different wallets depositing, and we have to be able to track every deposit.
Right.
As to when this person deposits, and the question is like, will this person be able to withdraw or not, or how would it affect other people in the pool and stuff like that. So it's a bit complicated.
Mm-hmm.
But like I had a similar idea, which I spoke to Jimmy about, which would be fun, but it would be quite a while before we do this. But so Beefy just launched their new project, which is the Moonpot vault, or not vault, it's a Moonpot sort of, I guess you would call it vault. So they you deposit cake, and they would sort of yield farm those cake deposits, but also you'd have a chance to win like lottery.
Oh.
So yeah, and so the more you put in, the more chance you have winning, right? Because it's like lottery ticket. So the more share of that total pool you have, the more chance you have of winning. So it sort of makes sense, and I think other projects have done similar things before, where you pool together capital. Right.
That's the only example I could think of would be the pirate coin. I believe it's on Trade Ogre, but it's a proof of work algorithm that every block reward, there's a chance for a miner to basically strike gold, and they end up getting like times 1,000 of the block reward. It's super nutty, but it drives people to really want to mine and participate in those types of things. So I don't know, I could definitely see it working. I could definitely see it being something that people would want to invest in, especially if they have a chance every cycle, like our staking cycles every 2 hours. If every 2 hours someone had a chance to win something, that'd probably drive a lot of people to put some TVL in there, I would think.
Yeah, I was thinking more in the sense of we creating this pool together, Feeder Finance users, and go to Moonpot together. So,
right.
Instead of you going alone,
right.
You might deposit $1,000 in cake, and the entire pool may be 10 million. So your chance is really low. But if we all do it together, obviously we get our pro rata share of whatever our vault was doing, but
right.
still it would increase the chance of you winning something, rather than going alone. So, and the reason I brought that up is because I don't know how the Mount Vault works, but for the Moonpot Vault, you could withdraw before the time lock period ends, but you would incur a certain fee, which is fine, because if you withdraw early, then you pay that fee, and then it would just flow through to you as if we were to do the vault for it. Mm-hmm. So in that case, this would work. So that's sort of in our product ideas list. We're not including it in any of our plans yet, because we have our priorities. But
sure,
those types of fun vault products will come up in the platform, and will be in the platform at some point when we start to have everything sort of built out, and all the main vaults or main deposit tokens, main yield farming strategies are done. Then we can start to think about more fun and different stock structures for these vault products. Yeah,
this definitely sounds like a innovation zone topic. Or as our As our community members like to call it, the degen zone.
Yeah, yeah. It's still thinking about what to call this innovation zone. Innovation zone sounds, you know, professional, I guess.
Well, I think it's the common moniker amongst, tech companies nowadays that are hosting. I'm trying to think of an adjective other than degen, but
Yeah,
to
yeah, exactly.
host high risk, high reward, tokens. I think that's
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Because you want to disclaim that, but in a way that doesn't, scare people away. If you say like high risk section, that sounds scary.
Oh, of course. Innovation zone. I like that. It's a lot less scary. It sounds a lot more forward looking.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, so that's all great. So let's see here. So it looks like the last thing in our TLDR here is the roadmap, but I feel like we've beaten that one to a dead horse. We'll skip over that. We'll get back to it. Core business updates, Auto Diversify. We've got 5 Auto Diversify vaults this week: Cake, USDT, BUSD, BTCB, and Ethereum. And the last one, BNB, will be added probably later tonight, I would think.
Yeah. I mean, in
It'll be turned back on and ready to
hours. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. And then let's see what's next. AutoFarm Compound. Yep, talked about that. Update the coming soon list. Yep, talked about that as well. The new UI design. That's right. We are pitching for Binance's incubator program. How is the progress on that?
So we actually prepared most of the questions that we'll need to or the answers to the questions that we need to submit.
Yep.
What we need still is, it's not mandatory, it's optional, but we still want to have it just because I'm pretty sure this whole thing will be pretty competitive. So we want to have that deck to submit. But because we're going to be, making a lot of changes in the next month or two, we can talk more about that for the roadmap. But we want to make sure that this change in this direction, that where we're going, what we're aiming to do, the vision of the whole platform, that's conveyed in our application.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we'll need for the deck is the design itself of how the platform will look like by the end of August. Because if you read through the roadmap, you'll realize that there are big changes coming up in August, and a lot of that will be the UI itself to accommodate a lot of new deposit tokens and new products that are coming online. We would definitely, before we code, we need to design the whole thing first, and we'll do that. What we're planning to do for that is, so we're planning to design the whole thing next week.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably where the focus will be for next week. I'm not sure if we're launching any new vault after AutoFarm for a week, because I think everybody could agree and understand and probably support the fact that we would be spending 1 week focus on getting finance application in order.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to complain about that one, especially with all the vaults. And yeah, no. If they have complaints, they can come talk to me.
Yeah. So once we have the design done, we'll put that design into our deck and and submit. But we have at least another week and a half or two. But so once the design is done, I'll start working on the deck, and once the deck is done, then we can submit, because everything else is sort of already done in terms of drafting the application and all that. So that's where the UI, the urgency of the UI comes in, because we need it for finance.
Yeah, no, that absolutely makes sense. All right, so moving on to our next topic here, we have a partnership you briefly glossed over. Advanced discussions, even a partnership with another DeFi project.
Yeah. I can't tell you guys which it is, obviously, because it's still um, confidential on both sides. But
Ah,
so
dang.
we're
Sorry, guys. I tried.
yeah, we're in advanced talks with a let's say a layer one type project.
Ooh.
So they're not vaulting anything. It's more like a yield yield generating DeFi project.
Hmm.
Um, and we'll if discussions go well and we're done, we'll be building more vaults for the platform. Um, and they would announce the fact that there is a partnership. So they would get vaults, their users would get vaults. We would likely send more TBL to their sites through us.
Hmm.
But also, their announcement of the partnership would get us technically free marketing in terms of, monetary free, but Jimmy would have to spend a couple days building vaults. But we get free marketing to their users. And
And hello again. Sorry about that, guys. As you were listening, Patrick probably just got very rudely interrupted by Streamlabs crashing on us. So thank you, Streamlabs. Quality product. Love you guys. Um, so actually, we're going to jump from the Binance Incubator program over to marketing campaigns. So, Pat, you say here in the weekly update that we have plans for both paid content creation and paid advertisement. Do you want to talk about those a little bit? I know we've briefly touched on them before in the past, but since they're here and right in front of us, I figure we might touch on them again.
yeah, sure. And then we have a lot of new users coming in, by the day lately, it seems. So, might be good to give, everybody a quick recap of what we're thinking. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so there, exactly. So there are two major sort of themes we probably want to go out first in terms of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the first thing is, obviously paid advertising, and we're thinking that radar as our first place we want to test it out and see, there how well money is generating, feedback from the market if they're getting, a bunch of new users or a bunch of new members and all that. So we know that money spent as well, is generating, more value than what we're giving up.
Right.
What we're also thinking is what we found is that the best type of marketing really is when people share content, right? And people, word of mouth. All of what we've done so far, what we've achieved so far was almost entirely free. It was all member, community member generated marketing.
Very
So, people
organic.
posting, exactly. Yeah, it's super organic and it works because when you do it organically, you have, types of investors or users that are joining us that are not super short term. I mean, there are short term people as well, and I appreciate that. But what we have are people that understand or want to understand um, the product, the project, the vision, where it's going, and that's the most valuable type of people that the project as a project founder that we want to attract.
Mm-hmm.
So to build on top of that, we want to sort of support the type of organic marketing that can happen, which is people create content. Um, let's say if people create videos, posted on YouTube about how this site works, how you navigate through the site, how you deposit, withdraw, and all that, how you sort of read the portfolio pages, or if people write Medium articles, or if they post on Reddit, uh, even if they create, media for us to post on Twitter, as in like, those cool images that William usually do with, pretty frequently. Um, all those things we want to support. And so what we're trying to do is what we're thinking about doing is we'll create a budget, for, let's say the first campaign, say $5,000 or $10,000, depends. And we'll say, you know, you can do it first, do it, and we will make sure that if what you're doing is actually, if you've actually spent time and thoughts into doing it, that we'll pay for it.
Interesting.
But it's super subjective, right? Because what is it worth? You know, it's hard to tell. So the tricky thing is then that, you know, if you're likely a community member who wants to support us, and you would want to do it anyway. But if you're getting paid also by doing it, that's a plus.
It's a win-win.
Exactly. Because these things are not going to be $1,000 worth, right?
Right.
Because that's what influencers charge. It's more likely going to be, you know, if it's just a quick Twitter post and you have some following, you did, you know, really do your research and put your thoughts into that Twitter post or Reddit post, whatever. You know, it could be $20, $30, whatever. Or if you did a video that's super informative, if it's you know, well done, it could be 100, it could be 200. But we'll make sure we don't overpay, and we'll pay for the value that we perceive. And we may not pay as well, because if someone were to just want to, you know, act the whole thing and do a 5-second sort of post on Twitter, we're not going to pay for that.
Right.
You know, so that's the disclaimer. That's the agreement, where you may or may not get paid, and you will not know how much you're getting paid for it. But we'll make sure that we pay if it's worth it. We'll pay for it, and let's see how it goes. But also, if you want to do ads, for instance, because I've seen, you know, members saying, like, you know, build some banners, we'll advertise that for you, and they'll pay for it, and we feel like that's great, right? But we also want to support that too. So if you go out there and you put our banners up and you pay for it, we'll back you as well. So if you run ads for $1,000, you come back to us and say, look, I've run this ads for $1,000, it's doing pretty well. You know, do you want to boost it? And if we like it, then sure, you know, we'll support that too. So it's a new concept. We haven't done it before, and we don't know if it's going to be a success or not, or if it's going to create a big mess. That could also be the case. But that's how we're thinking about finding a way to support all these organic stuff that's going on. That's really, you know, over the past 2-3 weeks, we're up 4x, 5x, whatever. It was all organic, and organic works. And that's how we want to, you know, support this whole effort going forward.
You heard it here, guys. Pay for ads, send the bill to Patrick.
Not exactly, but sure.
Oh man. All right. Yeah, no, that all sounds really good. I think fostering that kind of organic community growth, like you had said, really got us to where we are, you know. Constantly giving us, you know, community suggestions and updates, and I think those things are really what has brought this team to where it is now. And you know, last week I said we had what, TVL 2 mil, we're at 6 mil, 5 mil, 4. I don't know, keeps going up.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because people here really see the value in what we're doing, and so we want to help make people feel incentivized to spread the word. So whatever ideas you guys come up with, definitely feel free to shoot it our way. Moving ahead, and looks like over the next 3 months ahead, we have the roadmap here. Let's just touch on it briefly, because again, we have some new users coming in. Yeah, you want to take it away from here, Pat?
Sure. So I think it's important to give a brief background for new users, because a lot of us, you know, a lot of our members are here for longer. sort of saw the whole transition of the project. We launched the project as a product-driven, product-based project where we wanted to solve this whole or simplify DeFi through building simplified products. That's how we went into the project to begin with. And then we made a big shift into, instead of solving this issue with the product, which is we're only solving part of the issue, part of the problem when we're solving it with just the product. So we made that shift to wanting to solve it with the entire platform. So we want to solve the entire journey of this whole DeFi engagement with users, and that's the background, and what we're going to be doing going forward in the next 2 or 3 months is to sort of build the infrastructure to get there. It's not going to be in 2 months. It's not going to be the complete form. I don't even think years from now will ever be complete, because there's so much you can do once you're a platform-based project. You can always add stuff into the platform. You can always improve it. You can always expand, and scale it. And so it's never going to end. But these next few months is going to be a pivotal months for us because we're really building that infrastructure. And so what we're doing in August is we'll start to finalize a low-risk product portfolio. So the auto staking products will come online. So what we're aiming for is 100 total products for the entire platform.
Wow.
And by the end of August. So, but a lot of that will also be a proxy in terms of, what we have now are compound vaults. So we're actually, auto compounding your deposits. But a lot of those that are, going to add up to 100 will also be, let's say it's a proxy in terms of, you could deposit, you could withdraw, you could harvest other platforms' product through us. So, instead of going to Beefy or instead of going to PancakeSwap to do your DeFi, you could do it through us directly. The question is, why would people do that? Why don't they just, go straight to, all these platforms themselves?
Right.
And the answer is, why do you have to switch platforms? Why do you have to go to other platforms? Why can't you do it all, within, stay in this one place and do it all? And on top of that, you could aggregate this whole thing, your entire portfolio, wherever you deposit, as in wherever your final destination is for your deposits or your capital. It's all aggregated into this one portfolio. The data is aggregated. You can see historical performance of your portfolio. You could see how the risks are distributed, which tokens you have in total, let's say in a pie chart. And all of that is where we think the value is, so that you can really simplify this whole thing. And you don't have to go out and find new projects to invest in. Once we have this innovation zone we talked about, there will be new and exciting projects coming online to BSC and other networks, and we'll add that too. And we will need to disclaim the rest, of course, and that's by putting them into the innovation zone. But what we're going to be doing for the next month is actually to build the infrastructure for that. So the big UI update will accommodate the ability to add 100 products and still not confuse the hell out of people, right? Because if you have 100 products put in front of you, if you don't think about the UX and the UI well enough, it doesn't solve the problem we're trying to solve. We want to simplify it, right? So the UI has to simplify. Even though we have 100 or we will have 300, 500 products, it would still need to be simple. So that's what we're hoping to do for the next month. And then after August, we will shift our focus back to our auto staking and auto farming products. In terms of auto staking, a lot of our members already pointed that out, and we know it. when we launched that the gas fees are humongous compared to, if you were to swap a token on PancakeSwap. This would maybe cost 5 times more. There's good reasons why auto staking, auto diversify costs more. It's because we're combining, 5 to 8 transactions into one, and you can't avoid the fact that these are longer codes because gas fees are based on how long the code is.
Yep.
These are longer codes because we're combining a lot of codes into one single sort of bundle. But the way for us to be able to add more target vaults into the auto diversify and still keep gas low and actually reduce gas costs is to upgrade the auto diversify into pooling of gas fees. What that means is instead of sending your deposit straight into the target vaults, we may have an interval of an hour or 2 hours, depending on how popular the product is, where you deposit and all the deposit would pool together. And a simple deposit is really gas cheap, right? Because it's just a deposit. Right. It's just going into this pool together, and then every hour, let's say, all of these deposits will then be sent into the whole vaulting networks of 5 or 10 or 20 target vaults, and it will cost a lot of gas for the vault, but when you divide that by, let's say, 20, 30, 100 people, it makes a lot of sense, and you're not actually paying for that. What you're paying for as a user is just a deposit. So once we upgrade that in this way, the auto diversify product will be really gas cheap, and we'll be able to add as many target vaults as we want. So that's the upgrade we'll need to work on for September. And we'll also be starting to develop auto farming products, especially the auto farming auto diversify, which is a really exciting product to me personally as well, because when you bundle a lot of pairs of LPs together, number one, nobody's done it before.
True. Very
true. So it's, and if you can sort of bundle 20, 25 top pairs, 50 million plus together, you reduce impermanent loss through that diversification. You'd still have it, but you'd likely reduce it because you're not subject to only those 2 pairs or two tokens in one pair.
Your exposure is much higher.
Yeah, it's spread out a lot more, and so if BNB goes up a lot relative to one pair or one token, you typically have a lot of IL. But if you spread it out and other tokens in those lists goes up too, then you reduce IL by just by math.
Right.
And if you start to think about the high risk product, which is also super exciting, could be degen, but it's super exciting because I think I did the math. The APYs are 150, 180%, but you're still, and you're still invested in quite established tokens. These are 10 to 15 or 10 to 20 million LP pools. So it's not it's not a project that's not vetted. So you'd be getting a lot of APYs diversified and reduce IL from this product. So it's super exciting. We'll start to develop that, and for September, then it's likely going to take again maybe a month to get the audit done. In the meantime, we'll probably launch AutoFarm Compounds. So what we sort of have already in auto staking is actually an auto farming product. For the 2 pools, dot pools is 2 pool. Auto staking is technically, from a coding perspective, it's an auto farming product because what we're doing is providing liquidity.
Right.
It's just that they're stable coins, so it's almost the same, virtually the same as staking, with minor ILs, but almost the same. So we can start launching in September, start launching some of the auto farming compounds, maybe even sooner if we run out of auto staking products to launch. We may start auto farming before that for the compound side, but for the auto diversify side, we'll need to wait for the audit. And finally, in October, which is where the roadmap sort of goes to, is well, in that then we'll be sort of done with the auto farming and auto diversify. Let's hope audit doesn't take too long. We can launch then for the auto diversify, and we'll majorly update the portfolio, because like I mentioned before, the portfolio page is actually almost the center of it all. It's really what's creating a lot of value for users, when they're on our platform, because when you have 100, 200 things to select, it doesn't do much if you can't see it all, summarized in one page and sort of give you that data to look at, how much profits or rewards or yield are you generating per day, per month, per week, how diversified you are, what tokens you have deposited, and how it's spread out, how it's distributed, what's your allocation. All of that comes into the portfolio page. And so, in order to get to that portfolio page, we need to, through August and September, build the products. But once the products are settled, or are enough to be able to create that highly informative portfolio page, we'll work on the portfolio page, and that's coming up in October. So a lot of growth for the next 3 months, especially next month when we start to wrap the whole product portfolio up. But a lot of growth, development-wise, a lot of growth, a lot of changes, a lot of new great things that are coming up, and I'm super excited about it. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, that all sounds amazing. I can't wait. Wow. So, all right. And when do you think we'll be releasing a Q4/Q1 roadmap? Probably October, September.
I think more likely late September, because by then we'll have visibility into. Yeah. I mean, as you know, we're relatively flexible in terms of our project. We're not like, when we launched, we had this idea and we realized, wait, we can do so much more. So we changed, right? And we adapted, and so even though we have this roadmap, which I think it's unlikely to change majorly, but come like September, DeFi might have developed in a certain way that we want to add something else. We're not going to change the vision, but we might want to add this new product category. Like, the innovation might come sooner, just because the market is doing so well and people are looking for APYs and looking for fun stuff to do. We might, instead of, so that's sort of the point. Like things may change in terms of, we might do things sooner. We might do new things and all that. So we're always on the lookout to think about ways to improve the product and improve the platform. So let's see in September, maybe late September, when we have more clarity.
Cool. Well, on improving the platform, that is the perfect segue. So thank you. It looks like we've gotten a lot done this week on our to-do list down here. You want to briefly go over some changes we've made?
Sure. So for last week on the DApp side, we had a lot of informational update. When we launched AutoFarm, we didn't have the link to it, and so we added that. We realized that once we have more deposit tokens with the current UI, which will change, but with the current UI, it starts to become harder to navigate. So we decided to list the tokens alphabetically, which is, makes more sense. This one is it's long time coming. We added the compounding sort of timer for the staking pool, because people didn't know, they didn't know how it sort of works, and so that auto compound interval timing is helpful to know that, okay, I have to wait another 60 minutes for my
Balance
deposit
to update.
to bounce, yeah, to increase or whatever. Like, so they're not scared that why is it not moving, you know?
Right.
So that's the addition. It's been a long time coming. Glad we did that. There are some other technical stuff like showing that the feed balance that we show is actually an estimate because it's the derivative of S feed, you know, the S feed ratio to the feed itself, which is, you know, which is calculated based on how much minting has been done and added to the pool, blah blah blah. So we needed to disclaim that. It was suggested that we do, so we did that. And we some minor technical fix in terms of if the farm was actually APR, not APY, so we changed that, which is maybe a pleasant surprise. You know that if you compound that APR, it's going to be massive APY, but you have to do it manually for now, at least. And yeah, and token informational stuff. See. Oh, and this is actually a good one, Raphael recommended for the portfolio page. We realized that some people may be on the platform for the first time and haven't done any investment in the on the platform. So when you open the portfolio page, you see all these, you know, deposit withdrawal boxes, and it's not cool, basically. So what we did was we added this sort of a wrap on top that says if you haven't invested in any of the vaults, you know, please click go to invest. So, you know, do that first and then come back to the portfolio page, which is just, you know, minor details that we're always about finding ways to improve. And so it seems minor, but I think it improves the whole experience. And also updating the balance automatically. This is also minor. Like if you're a perfectionist, you would probably think this is pretty cool, and I am. So when you deposit or withdraw, your balance doesn't change, and you have to click refresh. It's annoying. So I recommended that, you know, once you do it, let's just make it automatically refresh, right? So you don't have to do that extra click. So this is, you know, that type of detail we want to, you know, include in our platform. We really care about details. So we did that. We also have completed some of the things we thought we would do later. For instance, so we added the community button at the bottom. It wasn't there, and it should be, so that you don't have to go to the homepage or other places to look for it. At the footer, now you have the community links. And the portfolio page did the same thing. So it's now ranked alphabetically. And we have a bunch of other stuff that are added. For instance, so there's this, I get a lot of DMs from our community members not understanding why you have to pay, like you know that there's a 0.1% fee that Feeder Finance gets from deposits. But when you deposit, it seems like you're getting your balance reduced by, you know, a little bit over 0.2%. Right. And people didn't understand why. And the reason is we're not the only one charging fees because we are sending your deposits to other places, and those places charge fees too. Yep. And so that needs to be disclaimed. And so that's the addition. We need to make sure that that's disclaimed. The APY is embedded. So the APY actually that showed is actually including everybody's fees, net of fees from, you know, us and everybody else. So that's embedded, but when you deposit, that could cause confusion. So we want to add that. We're working on a historical vault balance API. What that means is we want to be able to show your balance over time. So, you know, if you deposit every month, for instance, if you're, you know, a saver, which the type of people we want to attract as well. You can see your balance sort of every week, every 2 weeks, you deposit your paychecks, whatever, and you can see historically that your balance, your portfolio is growing, um, and how it's growing. That we want to add ASAP. We will, all these stuff we will add eventually anyway, but this is sort of something if we can do it sooner rather than later, we want to do it. And the rest are just minor bugs we need to fix. So that's the summary of our to-do list.
Well, very nice. So looks like we've accomplished a lot this last week, and got a lot of great things coming in the next week and the next couple months. Any closing thoughts you have for us today, Pat?
Um, this is always a pretty tough question. I think in terms of our our 3 or 4 months price appreciation that attracted a lot of people. Um, it's been a great run, and there's a lot more to do. We have a lot of support from influencers that believe in our project. Um, the really what this tells me and should be taking away from is that the best way to grow projects and the best way to make sure the project is a success, which equals success for everyone, is really to get community engaged, get everybody engaged in this whole thing, because we had a lot of silence when, for a couple of months when the market was down and nothing happened, right? Because we were in development.
Right.
But now that things are happening in terms of development, it would be really nice if everybody could, help out in terms of when we have put a post, just click a like, retweet, or tell your friends. Help click like and retweet for those posts that influencers support. All of that, it goes a long way, and it really creates an impact. As you can see, it did really create an impact. So we really appreciate that. A lot of you are already doing that, so thank you very much, and look forward to more community engagements in the months to come.
Yeah, I've had a lot of good chats this week with community members. Helping people through some questions and just answering a lot of just chit chat from people who care and people who really want to understand us. And it's honestly been really nice to see that people believe in our vision as much as we do. And I think continuing to empower them to do that to their friends and get them to see our vision is it's really nice. So thank you
Yeah.
guys. Thank you everybody for joining us on this journey, and hopefully we'll talk to you guys again soon. That is all for us
Yep.
today. So thank you for joining us. And yeah, remember guys, stay hungry.